Welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is renewal. We can so easily get depleted and oftentimes not even know it. And so today we're going to talk about the value of renewal and how important it is to our overall well-being. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So good to be here with you this morning, and we're talking about renewal. And I think this is an important topic. I from a lesson personally learned just recently, and that is that oftentimes we can become depleted without even realizing how depleted we are. So from personal anecdote is that I had been having a lot of difficulty sleeping, and so I hadn't been rested for a while, and I just kept going. And yesterday I just reached my limit without even realizing how far I had pushed myself. And I went to sleep at 6 p.m. and I had more than 12 hours sleep. And that that's pretty amazing, because I have been having a lot of sleepless nights, and it caught up with me. And I woke up this morning with a new motivation, new energy. Uh, it was quite extraordinary to see the difference in my beingness as a result of being rested. Something as simple as being rested. So it's interesting that I hadn't even realized. I knew I was tired, but I hadn't really realized the impact of or the degree to which I was truly exhausted. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. So good to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about renewal and how important it is to allow ourselves that to rest in renewal. I was talking about how I had become so exhausted that I didn't even know I was exhausted. It reminds me of little kids, when they're so tired that they can't sleep. And that's what had been happening to me for a long time. And I just was so exhausted that I went to lay down at 6 o'clock last night. And I was doing playing solitaire or Sudoku or whatever for, to just sort of relax. And I realized that I had nodded out with the phone in my hand. I put the phone aside and I went to sleep. And thankfully, I was able to sleep throughout most of the night. I woke up several times in the morning and went back to sleep in the wee hours. But the amazing thing to me in this, and where this topic is coming from, is that this morning I woke up with motivation that I haven't had in quite some time. Motivation to exercise. I exercised, washed dishes, like I did stuff that I might have had to push myself to do in the past, but it was just this whole new revitalized energy. And the big point here is that we often overextend ourselves without even realizing it. And if we can find a way to monitor our well-being, I think that we're conditioned in so many ways to just push on. And even though we might not realize we're doing that, which I didn't, I thought I was doing okay, but then all of a sudden it was like I got hit by a steamroller. And I'm a big advocate of paying attention along the way so that we don't have to wait until we're steamrolled. But this time I guess I didn't. Um, and I'm just so awed by the contrast in beingness, having had rest. Like that's kind of revolutionary, to realize the revolution is not that rest matters. Obviously, rest matters, but when you have a personal, visceral experience of it, it kind of rattled my cage, so to speak. So to let me really respect the importance of that resting. And I wonder how many of us just put that off and just push through over and over and over again. And what I wonder is at what cost, because I was walking in circles and feeling frustrated that my mind wasn't as acute as I know it can be, where I couldn't remember words, and I would find myself doing one thing and then getting distracted easily. All the ADD, ADHD symptoms just magnified. And I wonder if you experience something similar. Maybe what's at the root is that you need more rest. And I think our culture is not oriented to valuing rest. We're oriented toward valuing doing, getting stuff done, being productive. And after 12 hours sleep, I feel much more capable to address the things that need addressing. With the lack of sleep, I was feeling readily overwhelmed. And I am imagining that dynamic is not uncommon, that maybe you might be experiencing similar things, where it just things feel like too much, and that you don't have bandwidth to manage stuff. And it was interesting in looking at that for myself, because I really was feeling overwhelmed and not really able to focus. And I hadn't attributed that to exhaustion, but I think that that I'm making for myself and hopefully for you as well, a greater correlation between this sense of overwhelm and exhaustion, like just the body and the being needing more rest, needing rejuvenation, revitalization, coming back to life. And I used to say I'll sleep when I'm dead, but I'm starting to realize that the sleep piece is an essential part to actually living to our fullest. And I don't think the challenges with sleep for me certainly were not willful, but I'm delighted to have gotten to the place where I could just sleep for 12 hours. But to give ourselves that, there's a book, I don't remember the exact title. It might be Rest as Revolution or something like that, where the notion of giving ourselves rest is so radical in our culture, to prioritize rest, that it's kind of a revolutionary idea and a revolution in response to this constant drive for performance, which is external using externalities to validate our worthiness and our being. So Rosalind says, my friend offers free meditation weekdays. The timing it occurs is after work for me. I used to often take a nap before doing my evening activities. When I do the meditation, it's now replaced my naps. That's a really powerful observation, Rosalind, so my problem is if I take a nap at night, either I sleep through or I don't, then I can't then get to sleep later in the night. But the meditation really can revitalize and rejuvenate us. In fact, it's not that it can, it does. And I think that it can fill in for sleep, to get into that deep state of relaxation and presence and breath and ease that it checks all the boxes for sleep outside of dreaming. And apparently there are all kinds of studies that have been done on dreaming, and if we're deprived of the ability to dream, we start hallucinating. Over a long enough period of time, we start hallucinating in day to day. Yeah, but our physiological systems are also impacted, even things like balance, which is interesting, I think. It kind of makes sense, if our brain isn't firing on all cylinders, that maybe we don't have the resources to be able to make the adjustments that balance requires. So if we're out of balance due to lack of sleep, then there's increased risk of falling and all that other stuff. So, the health implications, besides emotional stuff, besides feeling potentially overwhelmed or short-tempered or even depressed due to lack of sleep, there's the physiological health impacts as well, where we're jeopardizing our balance and our metabolism doesn't work as well and all kinds of things like that. So if we can find ways to nurture sleep and relaxation, meditation kind of things, if we can put attention in those arenas, it's very likely to benefit our well-being on all kinds of levels. So that's something to think about. And rest can be so delicious. It's sometimes just laying down can be really wonderful. Or sitting and allowing yourself to read a book, or I don't know if being, watching movies and such is the same kind of restfulness. Although I spend a lot of time doing that, I don't know that it's really the same kind of rest as meditation or maybe reading a book even. But because I guess there's a quiet to meditation, to sleeping. Not all meditation is quiet, but it's interesting. It's interesting to notice what happens when we allow ourselves quiet. Oftentimes that's when we get to hear our mind racing and get sucked into all those conversations and considerations that we manufacture for ourselves in our minds. So it's not always restful because we're churning with all the things to do and what happened yesterday and what's going on with this person and all these monkey mind kind of things that have us bouncing around in ways that are not at all restful. So I guess, what is rest? Certainly part of it is physiological, where we can presence ourselves to our physical bodies and deliberately, through our attention, create ease, create muscle relaxing. So Rosalind says, I like having tea before bed. Well, that sounds lovely, especially if it's a relaxing kind of tea, like maybe chamomile or mint. Certainly, Earl Grey before bed wouldn't be the best because it's a caffeinated tea, or even green tea. What do you have a favorite, Rosalind? What kind of tea do you have before bed? So, using our breath deliberately certainly can create relaxation. It's interesting because I've noticed how tense I've been lately, like how I've been holding a lot of tension in my body. And as I'm aware of that, I set my intention to relax and ease that tension. I wonder how many of us actually become aware of how tense we are, carrying ourselves with our shoulders up and our backs tight, and just what how are we holding our tension? Some of us hold our tension in our gut. So Rosalind says right now it's peppermint or lavender chamomile tea. Wow. Lavender chamomile sounds really good too. I love peppermint. Those are great calming teas for sure. Um, and even the act, so when we have rituals, we condition ourselves emotionally and physically even to these rituals. So if we have the notion of something being calming, if we have this time where we go into meditation, for instance, eventually our body gets the idea, oh, this is a time to calm and to relax and to release. Or if we have a routine of having a cup of tea that's soothing, then our body comes into the space of, oh, okay, when I have this tea, then that's a signal to my body and my being to relax. And it becomes a trigger, a positive trigger or an anchor for that state. So Rosalind says there's an unspoken rule that when an animal lays on your lap, you're not allowed to move. And they often gather when I'm having tea. Oh, that's sweet. That's really funny. Yeah, it's funny. Like, don't disturb the cat, don't disturb the dog. They're very comfortable on your lap. I think that's really funny because I have experienced that myself, because it is always such a treat to have my cat on my lap and just resting. I wouldn't want to disturb her. So she would help to allow for my relaxation too. That's a riot. Animals are so wonderful at helping us in life, right? Helping us to love, helping us to relax, helping to comfort us. They're just such a tremendous, amazing gift. That's so funny. I love that. The unspoken rule that don't disturb the pet. Oh, we're so funny human beings, aren't we? Um, we'll push and push and push ourselves, but when we have somebody else to consider or a precious four-legged friend, we will make considerations for them that we wouldn't make for ourselves. They're such wonderful teachers and companions for sure. So this notion of renewal, I think even just sitting in nature can grant us the gift of renewal. Presencing ourselves just brings us into an altered state where we can sort of stop the fast moving train and take a pause. And if we do that with conscious intention, it seems to have a greater impact, where we breathe with the intention to relax. We sit with the intention of quiet. We move through our day. I mean, there's no reason that we can't bring that intentionality to the way that we proceed through our day. To say, I'm going to create ease throughout this day, regardless of how many things we have to do. That I often have clients scheduled back to back from morning to evening. And I often will set the intention in the beginning of the day to create spaciousness so that it doesn't feel like a barrage. And it's really powerful. It works. Creating spaciousness works. It's interesting because oftentimes what will happen when I do that is that there will be cancellations, or a client will end early and there's space. So I invite you to look at how you might be able to create spaciousness in your own life. And in that spaciousness, to find a sense of rest and renewal, revitalization. And in that spaciousness, that's space to breathe, space to take a full breath. That's also renewal, revitalization, bringing ourselves back to life. And oftentimes it takes rest, which is a gift that we don't give ourselves that often. Truly restful rest. And I wonder how setting an intention in our resting might benefit us in the impact of that rest by deliberately intending renewal and checking in with our body to see where do we need some attention, where can we direct our breath to create some ease, where can we presence ourselves to the different sensations of our bodies in a way that brings revitalization. I think that is a worthy intention and conversation to have with ourselves, just to check in. It's like, oh, wow, okay. Noticing there's tension in my shoulder. What would it feel like to breathe into that shoulder and allow it to release, for example? So I invite you to be present to your body's calls for attention, for rest from someone who wasn't listening too clearly. I invite you to, as I intend to now more deliberately, and notice what changes physically as you allow that rest and revitalization. So that's it for today. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to please like, follow, and share Enlightened World Network and me. The links are in the description. And as always, it is such a gift and a privilege to spend this time with you, musing on what it